I'm not sure I understood the last half, but on the out-of-state admissions, because we are in competition for those students with other schools around the country, and they are admitting now.
Yeah.
We don't have, we're on, if we do intend to have at least some of this accommodated through non-resident student tuition, and currently that's what the budget provides for, then we have to abide by that schedule. So admissions.
Maybe one question at a time. So the first is the 2,000 students that you would admit non-resident, they would be getting letters saying you're in. They wouldn't get a conditional acceptance letter, correct?
Potentially.
But the 1,000 Californian students would get a conditional acceptance letter.
Yes, remember that the budget to enroll even the current level of enrollment that we have, even to maintain the current level of enrollment that we have of California students, we either need additional money from the state or we need to have a certain number of non-resident students. So we need, unfortunately, to start sending those letters now just to make sure that we can guarantee to California students at the current level that they will be admitted.
Okay. And back to what we talked about maybe 3, 4, 5 minutes ago, with the potential $50 million of general fund that's proposed by the Speaker, and with the potential, you said you're going to evaluate whether or not there is room to go up in the out-of-state tuition rate to get somewhere close to the $100 million. Then I guess what I would ask is maybe the university should basically work with those families and give them real acceptance to the University of California.
You know, Assembly Member, I would love to do that, but the university has been doing that for the last 7 years and has not received any enrollment increase money from the state. And at a certain point, we begin diluting the academic experience of the students who we do admit. And again, I can't say how this will work out in the end. We're going to work with families and work with schools, but we are in the position where, for the future of the university, some of these hard decisions need to be made.
Well, the past, my understanding is it's not necessarily a compact. This is a third year of a commitment from the governor of having the 5% increase, so 125 million, 125, and now 119. So they have received monies the last few years for the university.
No, not for enrollment growth. That increase, as you know, is only on the state appropriation. It equates basically to half of that for the overall budget. And with the University of California, and I suspect with CSU, but particularly for us because the state doesn't cover a dime of our pension costs. It doesn't even cover mandatory cost increase, much less inflation, much less any enrollment growth. And I was not here at the time, but there is vehement dispute by those who were that there was ever any compact. But even if there were, history would teach us, or the last 3 years of experience would teach us, that it did not accommodate enrollment growth. What the university did was made the decision to carry out its public mission to go ahead and increase enrollment at the university. Currently, 7,500 at least undergraduate California students are at the university that there was no additional money for to the university. I'm not talking about Cal grants. Now, how did the university pay for those? 2 ways. One, increased non-resident student enrollment, and the extra tuition went to support California students, and 2, by cost cutting.
Okay. Well, we'll have plenty of opportunity to get into these issues further in the coming hearings. I know that we're also joined by Assemblymember Weber, who's the chair of our Budget Committee. Would you like to join us, say a few words, or are you just enjoying the show back there?
I'm enjoying the show.
Okay.
No, I unfortunately was in another higher ed hearing that dealt with the University of California also. But I think, as our chairs mentioned and those in the Assembly have mentioned, we recognize the fact that our institutions, our UC and CSUs and community colleges are really valued institutions in the state that assist us in many, many ways in terms of building California, and that the financing of these institutions is a difficult situation given the limited resources that we have. And everyone has taken the cuts over the years immensely in terms of trying to keep our institutions afloat, and everyone to be applauded for the quality that has remained at our institutions, and we're committed to do that as well. We do, however, have a continuing commitment to make sure that every student in California who is eligible and willing and wanting to go to one of our great institutions has an opportunity to do that. And so how we work it out and how we come to a conclusion on that matter is going to be very important in the next, not just this year, but in the years to come. And so I see this as a multi-year process. It has to be in order to get to where we want to go. We're not going to get there this year. We didn't get there last year, but we're further along than we have been before. And as I keep saying to people, the cavalry is coming. Just hold on. We hope to eventually get to the point where we can fund our institutions at a level that we feel good about funding to make sure that every child in California has an opportunity to be educated, and that's going to be our main mission and main goal. So I'm sure we'll continue this conversation about the $150 million and those that are there. We are committed, however, to make sure that we try to cap our out-of-state enrollment because it's at its highest level, and we want to continue to focus on the real mission of the University of California and CSU. When I read the first issues in the preamble of those institutions, they were truly designed to rival our private institutions because we knew that the SCs and the Stanfords already existed, and that those institutions were basically appealing to those who had resources. And the beauty of our University of California and CSU was that it was going to address the issues of the average Californian, the average Shirley Weber at the time, who could not have afforded Stanford or USC or any of the other private colleges that existed, but really needed a state institution to become the American equalizer. And so I want to encourage us to always stay focused on that's what our real mission is to educate the children of California. And part of that education is the exposure to other students. We know that, other students from around the world, from other states that are there. But our primary mission and always has been to educate California kids so that we can run California, so we have the intellectual capacity and the resources to do that. So I applaud my presidents who are here and provosts and chancellors and all the good folks who are here for that mission. We'll continue our conversation. I want to thank Mr. McCarty, who has been a great chair in a difficult time, but at the same time we want to stay focused on the fact that we are here to educate the kids of California and to continue to provide high quality, not second-class education, not only in the state but around the world, that we're proud of our institutions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions from this panel? Thank you. Don't go far. Maybe go back. We have a few more seats up here. Can we bring back up the Department of Finance and the LAO's office? I guess maybe we can have you three stay there. We can have them come up as well, and in case there's any.
We're supposed to go, I thought.
We're supposed to go.
You need to go somewhere else. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Sure, want to add on the roll? Or add on the vote or the roll? The roll.
Approve staff recommendation regarding UC pension report. Mr. Chavez.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to hear a summary of the 2015-16 budget proposals and analysis from the Department of Finance and the LAO.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I'm Krishna Osmenya with the Department of Finance, and I appreciate the opportunity to present the governor's budget. I'll first discuss the framework by which the governor's budget approaches higher education, and then briefly describe specific proposals for each of the public segments. The budget proposes total funding of $29 billion for higher education in the 2015-16 fiscal year. The administration continues to prioritize funding for higher education for many of the same reasons noted by our system leaders during the previous panel, that widely accessible, high-quality higher education supports social mobility and helps to drive the innovation that fuels California's economy. At the same time, the budget retains the administration's focus on the costs of higher education, not as an end in itself, but because in order for that system to remain accessible to Californians over the long term, the state's colleges and universities need to think beyond business as usual. The budget builds upon the investments made by the governor and the legislature in recent years. For the UC and the CSU, the passage of Proposition 30 in 2012 prevented a $250 million reduction in general fund support for each segment and allowed the state to provide $125 million to each system to recognize that they did not raise tuition in that year. Since then, the administration's multi-year funding plan has already provided a total of $267 million in new general fund resources to each system. Likewise, funding for the community colleges has grown consistent with increases in the Proposition 98 minimum guarantee. As Assemblymember Ting noted, on top of this direct support, the state has continued to fund robust financial aid programs, even during the economic downturn, amounting to significant levels of indirect state support. Specifically, about 23% of all tuition for the UC and 22% of tuition for the CSU is paid for with state dollars. Since 2007-2008, this indirect support has grown by $643 million at the UC and $507 million at the CSU, in large part reflecting tuition increases. Furthermore, as you're well aware, the Middle Class Scholarship Program now offsets tuition at the UC and the CSU for students with family incomes of up to $150,000. The administration continues to expect the segments to use these additional resources to advance state priorities, namely to maintain affordability, to decrease the time it takes students to graduate, to increase the number of students who complete programs, and to ease transfer across systems. With that context, I'll briefly describe the administration's proposals for the 15-16 fiscal year. We discussed the administration's proposals for the University of California at your previous hearing. In short, the budget includes an increase of $119 million general fund with the following conditions. First, that the university not increase tuition above current levels. Second, that the university not increase non-resident enrollment above current levels. And third, that the regents take actions to control costs, including actions on proposals developed by the Select Advisory Committee on the cost structure of the university, comprised of the governor and President Napolitano. For the California State University, the budget also provides an additional $119 million general fund, with a continued expectation that the university hold tuition flat. The budget funds the awards for innovation in higher education for an additional year. For 15-16, the budget focuses on innovations at CSU campuses, recognizing the opportunities to increase the number of students who graduate within 4 years at those campuses. And finally, as the chair mentioned, for the CSU, the budget supports the transfer for the property housing the developmental center, the Lanterman Developmental Center, to the CSU. Our expectation is that the site will be used to support the core program at the Pomona campus within the CSU's existing resources. The budget proposes significant new funds for the community colleges, building on the investments made in recent budgets. I'll group these proposals into 3 categories. First, the colleges would receive significant additional general purpose revenues, $373 million on an ongoing basis and $353 million on a one-time basis. These resources can be used to address identified needs, including the costs of facilities and employee benefits. Second, the budget provides an additional $200 million to expand programs and services expected to improve student outcomes. Of that amount, $100 million would be provided for support services like counseling and education planning, and another $100 million would be provided to support plans developed at the local level focused on closing achievement gaps. Lastly, the budget provides more than $500 million on an ongoing basis, with another $48 million in one-time funds to support adult education and career technical education, both of which are important components of the state's workforce and development infrastructure. We look forward to presenting these proposals to the subcommittee in more detail over the coming months. In closing, over the past several years, the administration has presented a new approach to budgeting for higher education. We believe this approach is consistent with an important culture change, asking the segments to address several priorities. First, to balance enrollment and performance when planning their instructional programs. Second, to consider the trade-offs between spending in different parts of their operations. And third, to think more holistically about the roles each of them play as part of a broader system of higher education in California. Even so, we recognize the challenges that come with this approach, and with a more limited set of specific directions articulated in the annual budget. We commit to working with the subcommittee and your staff over the coming months to ensure that the new funds proposed in the governor's budget support strong progress towards state goals. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.